During the Buddha's time, there was a young man of Savatthi who, after listening to the Buddha's sermon, dedicated his heart to the triple gem of the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. He renounced the worldly life and ordained. He practiced diligently and never slacked off. One day, while he was on his alms rounds, he saw a beautiful woman. Even though the training says not to stare at women, the monk was unable to look away. Passion stirred within him. From that day forth, he was not able to think of anything other than that woman. He lost interest in eating, neglected his personal hygiene, and no longer took joy in practicing the Dhamma. When his friends became aware of his state, they asked him what happened. He said, "I've lost my joy." The friends took him to the Buddha. The Buddha asked, "Why have you brought this monk here against his will?" "My lord, he says his joy is gone." "Monk, is this true?" "Yes, I lost it when I gazed upon a beautiful woman, and since, I've not been able to contain my passions." It is not surprising that after neglecting the Vinaya, a monk's discipline and rules, that you were stirred by passion. The Vinaya is there to help prevent these things from happening. Even in the past, great beings who had already achieved great mental feats and attainments lost all their powers at the mere sight of a woman. Even those who could walk in the sky and bodhisattvas, once overcome by passion, lost their attainments and encountered great sorrow. Even purified beings were led astray by passion and brought to shame. And upon this, the Buddha told a story of the past. Once upon a time, while Brahmadatta was reigning in Benares, the Bodhisattva was born into a rich family and decided to renounce the worldly life. Through his practice, he achieved higher knowledges and special attainments. One day, he flew to Benares to look for salt and vinegar. When the king saw him, he was shocked to see someone flying in the air. "Guards! Is that really a man flying in the air?" "My good man! You must be a holy man to have such powers. Please, I ask you to come down and reside at my palace. Be our teacher and teach us the wise things you have learned." "I will do as you ask." And so, the wise ascetic resided at the palace and taught the king's household and ate the king's food. One day, the king needed to go to the border to quell an uprising, so he charged his queen, whose name was Gentleheart, to minister the wants and needs of the holy man. The queen took her task very seriously and looked after the ascetic very well. One day, Queen Gentleheart brought some food for the ascetic, but found that he was not in his room. At that moment, he was meditating outside. "I don't want to fail in my duties. I have to wait for him to return." Queen Gentleheart, not wanting to fail in her charge, decided, I must wait for him to return. After a long time, the queen was tired and sat on the floor, leaning against the bed. Her servants then changed her into a sleeping garment and asked her to lay down and wait for the ascetic. When he arrived, they would wake her and get her ready. However, as she slept, her robe slipped off. Before dark, the ascetic decided to return. Not knowing anyone was in his room, the ascetic entered through the open window. However, once he saw the queen's bare body, his morality was violated, and he gazed for pleasure's sake. Once his intentions became impure, he lost command of his insights and immediately fell to the floor, like a crow with its wings clipped or a tree felled by an axe. Hearing his fall, the queen quickly woke up and covered herself. However, the image was seared into the mind of the ascetic, and lust began to grow in him. He was not able to eat or sleep. He knew it was wrong, but the desire he felt for her grew and grew. This internal struggle caused him suffering. His heart was aflame with lust, while his mind tried helplessly to resist. In his mind, for 7 days, he kept replaying the events of that night, each time focusing only on the sights he saw and the images it generated. After the king returned, he stopped by to visit the ascetic. The king, seeing the ascetic looking ill and weak, massaged his feet and asked, "Holy man, what is wrong?" "Generous and kind king, I am overcome by lust and have lost control of all of my insights." "Lust? Lust for whom?" "Lust for your queen, Queen Gentleheart." "If that is so, then she is yours. I give her to you." However, the king had a plan. He privately spoke to his queen. "You must put forth your utmost endeavor to save this holy man. We must not sit by while he drops into darkness." "Fear not, sire. I will save him. I promise you this." And so, the king gave his queen to the ascetic. Feeling the glares of the people, the ascetic felt intense shame, guilt, and embarrassment. When they got to the forest, the ascetic realized they had nowhere to live. "Where are we going to live?" "I do not know. I do not have a house or home to offer you." "Then you must go beg the king to give you a place for us to stay." "I do not wish to beg anything more from the king, but I have no choice. I will go." The ascetic went to the king and shamefully begged for a place to live. The king then gifted them a small building that passers-by used as an outhouse. "Ew, it stinks and it is filthy. I refuse to live here until you clean it." The ascetic then had no choice but to get to work cleaning the outhouse of all its filth. After finishing, the queen said, "How can I live in this empty room? I need a bed, a stool, a rug, a water pot, and a cup. The queen had the ascetic go and fetch each of these items one by one. Once all the things were gathered, the ascetic thought that finally he would get to enjoy the object of his lust. However, the queen said, "Ew, you're filthy and smell horrible." Tired and exhausted, the ascetic went to bathe and clean himself. Finally, he expected that the time had come. The queen drew him close to her until their faces were almost touching. Then she said, "Have you already forgotten that you are a Brahmin and a holy man?" At that moment, the images of all the work he had done, the embarrassment he had endured, the shame he had felt, all came down upon him. What have I done? I was going to sacrifice everything. For what? He quickly left her and entered intense concentration. He thought about all the work he had done in the past to become a respected holy man who had obtained the insights. He thought about how he was about to throw it all away for a woman. He thought about reality, that nothing is free. Even if he were to have this woman, he would still have to work to provide for her, take care of her, and entertain her. He contemplated all he would have to lose in order to gain a small, temporary pleasure. Upon this, he regained his senses and wisdom. He brought Queen Gentleheart back to the king and said, "Sire, I no longer want your queen. Because of seeing her, my lust and cravings arose. I know better now and wish to return to the mountains to live in solitude." At this dedication, his previous insights returned to him. The ascetic then flew into the air. He then spent the rest of his life living in solitude and practicing concentration. Upon his death, he entered the Brahma realm. The Buddha then ended the lesson and taught the 4 noble truths. The monk became an Arahant. The Buddha then concluded the Jataka by saying, "In those days, Ananda was the king. Upalawana was Queen Gentleheart. And as for the hermit, it was I." What did you learn from this story? Let us know in the comments. We hope you enjoyed the video. Click like if you did, and click subscribe if you want to see our uploads. And consider making a donation to support our Buddhist animation project.